Fear. It paralyzes men, but also it can be a motivator. But if you succumb to fear and allow it to control you, it will eventually destroy you. Hi, I'm Branon Dempsey. Click the like, follow, and subscribe because your story matters. See, fear can be like an invisible chain. See, for some men, it starts like the fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not getting the job. And if it goes unchecked and unaddressed, fear can be carried into your 50s and often preventing you from reaching life awesome opportunities. At the same time, fear is paradoxal. On the one hand, it can keep you frozen, avoiding risk or change. On the other, fear can be a subtle motivator to push you to succeed and not to fail. But the key is not letting that fear drive you blindly. I have found that when you begin to understand fear and really confront it and getting to the root, you can acknowledge its presence without letting it control you. The deal is you really haven't reached far enough yet to try those ambitions that are deep into your heart, and you haven't jumped high enough yet to see what your potential really is. The thing is, confidence is something that you don't feel at first. Confidence is something you build after. This is why fear is something that you can't avoid, because eventually it will destroy you. But the best response is to learn how to work through it and not allowing it to dictate your path. The first step is recognizing that fear is avoidance, and it's just a loop, because avoiding fear to avoid discomfort only makes the fear bigger. And in order to break that cycle, how can you start this? By intentional small steps forward, even if it's discomforting, even if you feel like you are fearing the situation, but acknowledge that the fear may be present, but what you can do about it is your ability to act. And embracing it means asking, what is this fear really telling me? It's also learning to think about, well, what do I know in this situation? And using what you know. That way, fear is not that barrier anymore that keeps holding you back, but it's revealing something truth within you, a real value, a real desire, and a real growing edge to keep moving forward. By reframing fear, it's just using it as information, like a warning light, rather than a threat that hangs over your life, in which you can learn from it. Often fear attaches itself to something that was traumatic as an event or situation, but that's something that stayed in the past. When you relive fear, you bring it back to the present. The best thing that you can do is to confront that fear, saying that, yeah, maybe that happened in the past, but those past things that used to hurt me are no longer here. They're no longer happening now. This is where a lot of men stay stuck. When you allow fear to constantly dictate your direction, that path is no longer yours. Listen, it's not always about clarity, but it's also having the courage to take one step at a time. So that thing you want to do in life, start it. Make the call. Take the risk. Say what needs to be said, even if you don't feel fully confident, and even if you feel unsure, even if it's not perfect. Because the truth is simple. Your life doesn't change when you think about it. Your life changes when you move. And when you act on what you know and not on what you fear, everything begins to shift. Because you start learning, you start adapting, and you start